You can't sell Medicare, but can you sell final expense? Dear Medicare agent that has been enrolling people their entire life, welcome to I don't think you can do it. Nick, I've heard for so many times, so many years, I'm in Medicare and I'm getting into final expense. My favorite, man, I have a Medicare agency of 26 people and a cat, and we're getting into final expense. This never happens. Medicare agents that are afraid that the sky's falling this year over SEPs, can they really sell final expense?
I mean, they can try. Good luck to them. If you watch this channel, you probably know how.
Yeah.
So that's off to you. If you are a Medicare agent who has been watching the content that we put out, then you are probably in better shape than most to actually sell a final expense policy. And hey, listen, selling final expense, it's great. You should definitely be selling final expense. It pays a lot of money right up front, real fast. I was just talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, and they're a Medicare agent, and I was saying to them, the thing about final expense is you can have $0 in your bank account today, go out, write a bunch of business, and tomorrow you'll have $10,000 in your bank account. And that is a
Literally.
very doable thing in final expense. And that is not possible with Medicare. You cannot do that no matter how good you are. You will not go out and on February 7th write enough business to possibly get a deposit on February 9th of $10,000 from the business that you wrote on the 7th
Oh
or the
my
8th.
gosh. That's true.
Like, that's just not a possibility.
That's
But it
true.
is a possibility with final expense. Go do.
Yeah. I had a Medicare agent write up my final expense policy once and they contacted me about how quickly they were paid. I'm like, duh.
Yep,
Like, what
this
have
is
I
what.
been telling you the entire time?
Yeah.
Could you please finally believe me? It didn't work. I think the difficulty is that I can never clear up my voicemails in life. That's a different problem. I think the difficulty in life is that there's a difference between selling something and enrolling something. And that's
Yeah.
something we've talked about for countless episodes here, but maybe we can unpack a little bit the difference between selling a product and enrolling something that's free.
Yeah, well, so and this is not a like don't take our word for it. Like there are some very well-respected people in the Medicare industry who will tell you the same thing. I recall going to something where I saw Christian Brindle's seven-figure Medicare conference a couple years back. Not the most recent one, but the one before. He had Galen Hendricks on talking, and she got up on stage and was not super well respected in the Medicare sales community and was absolutely not afraid to say, if you sign somebody up for something that has no cost and it does not cost them anything, you are not in sales. You are not in sales unless you have them transfer money of some, even $1, that's a sale. But you did not make a sale unless somebody spent money on something. All
Yeah,
you did was sign somebody up for something. You're giving away stuff for free. That is not sales.
that's enrollments.
Yeah. And it's a different thing. And listen, I'm not saying there is no skill involved in doing an enrollment. I'm not saying that just anybody can walk into a Medicare appointment and sign somebody up and manage to make that happen, because there's some trust building that's involved, right? It's not everybody has that ability to generate trust. Not everybody has that ability to explain things in such a way that the client doesn't get confused. But I will tell you, a lot more people have the ability to do that than have the ability to do that and then say, oh, and by the way, you need to write a check for $60 a month.
Mhm. It just kind of speaks to the fact, though, that in reverse, Medicare is an incredibly easy door opener, and final expense agents that want to stop going gray and getting stressed out could open a lot more doors by leading in with Medicare. But selling versus enrolling, incredibly different things entirely.
I, I'll even say, like, you don't have to lead in with Medicare, man. Like, I mean, yes, that's great. Lead in with Medicare, get those go back and do policy reviews with those Medicare clients and introduce them to the joys of final expense. You can also go the other way around, like go sell a bunch of final expense, make some money, go back to your final expense clients. 90% of them are on Medicare, and do those enrollments too. They already know you, like you, and trust you. Why would you not want to work with people that already know, like, and trust you? Like the know, like, and trust thing is a really big thing in like sales. So using it very intentionally. I know it's pretty cheesy, but they do. They do. They
Mhm.
know you. They like you. They trust you.
You have their
Um,
social.
you've got all their info. Like, man, like all you have to do is say, hey, we can do better for you than you're doing now. Let me show you. Would you like this also?
Yes, I would
You
like that.
can't
That
do it on
sounds
the same
good.
appointment, right? But like, it's not like it's that difficult to get back in front of them,
Yeah. I can't
you
wait
know?
for that to not be an issue anymore, but realistically, when the appointment ends is a matter of opinion. Your opinion will differ from mine, but that's the fun part about our conversations. Um,
Well, yeah. I listen. I'm just covering everybody. Let's just protect ourselves from liability. You cannot do that on the same appointment. You just can't. But there's nothing that prevents you from talking to your existing life insurance clients about Medicare at all.
correct. Now, I heard something interesting recently, and it doesn't make sense to me, and it may not make sense to you, but I reached out to somebody about them selling a carrier that's new to market, very competitive preferred rates, normal standard rates. Nobody cares about the modified rates. The preferred rates, the renewal at my level, which is a step below an FMO, it's like 1%.
Mhm.
That means street, it's probably 0% on
Yep.
preferred, mind you. The standard rate product, which is a relatively liberal, normal standard rate product, zero renewals. At my level, let's sit two steps below the IMO. Street level, obviously still zero. And I said, I don't understand why you're leading with something that doesn't pay you anything next year. And they were so first year driven, they literally don't care about what happens next year. I could never process that mentality.
I talk to final expense agents regularly who don't even track their renewals and don't know how much of their business that they're getting paid for is renewal income. Blows my mind.
You're not
Blows my
going to
mind.
retire off renewals, but why would you be leading with something that doesn't pay you anything?
It I mean, right? It is actually a significant amount of money if you write a significant amount of business. It's not like you said, it's not a retirement account,
No.
right? You're not going to retire off of it. But like if you're writing a significant amount of business, you could be making six figures in renewals. Like that's not crazy to be
Yeah,
making six figures in life insurance renewals. And why would you not care about that? Why
I
would
think
you
you
throw?
plateau there. I think you
Yeah,
don't
you'd
I think
probably
you hit a
plateau
6-year plateau.
around the $100,000 mark.
Yeah.
But like even if it's even if it's only $20,000, who out here watching this is going to just walk outside and set $20,000 on fire?
But they
Right?
are. I've had
Right.
multiple we've had these conversations with people, and it doesn't make any sense to me. Somebody enlighten me in the comments section why you would sell something that doesn't pay renewals when the product is built to pay renewals. That means somebody else is keeping them, really.
Yeah. You're
It's not like it's 60% below the market price. They're just keeping them somewhere. Like let's be real about the conversation.
I would rather all day long. I would all day long trade 10 points of first year commission for 5 points of renewal.
Which
All day
which
long.
leads us into the interesting conversation without getting carrier specific on any of these companies. I did the math on it. I looked at one carrier's street level commissions and above average renewals. They're in Texas. There's plenty of companies there. You guys decide which one it is. Straight, great first year renewals, solid residual, like second year renewals. Then I compared it against a company in Kansas with the 16, 17, 18% second year renewal. Nick, you could go 10 points lower on first year and still make more money with this boosted second year renewal. It's insanity.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I
Well, I
mean,
mean, we can
it
talk about a
matters.
company that's gone out of business, like a surety, um, who used to pay like
20.
20% renewals. And for like all I know, I can think of agents off the top of my head who are still getting, I mean, a
Mhm.
surety's been out of business for a long time. And they're still getting checks for large amounts of money from the surety policies that they wrote. And they didn't write that many because a surety was hard to get business
Oh,
issued with.
it sure was.
And they're still getting it's lifetime renewals, and they were big. I like Settlers was not 20% renewals,
It
but
was zero.
Settlers would continue to pay you a reasonable renewal for life. I have not written a single Settlers policy since 2016. I still get Settlers checks every single month, and they are not insignificant checks. I can pay bills with those checks. Um, like It's crazy.
Side note on dead companies. You'll appreciate this one. We're gonna talk all about all kinds of crap in 30 minutes because we haven't talked for a month.
I know.
GCU, and I'll
Yeah,
publicly
sure.
say it because plenty of carriers know it, put me on Vector. Now,
No.
without being a hypocrite about people that are on Vector for real reasons, GCU put me on Vector. And it's been a challenge to get contracted with carriers because GCU put me on Vector. And I was so angry about it about a week ago, Nick. I went
Mhm.
onto my spreadsheets where I track every single deposit that goes into my bank account. And I totaled up every single thing GCU put in my bank account,
Mhm.
the exact amount they vectored me for.
So they're vectoring you for 100% of what they paid, of what they're saying. Nothing that you wrote is valid at all.
It,
100%
it-
of it.
it's not even statistically possible. Talk
No.
about the difference between a company like a Surety that pays people forever and a company like GCU who claimed every dollar they paid you isn't valid anymore. The irony of this business is astounding.
It is important that we as agents do not just hop onto every fly by night company. And listen, like GCU wasn't a fly by night company. They seemed very legit. They had been around for a long time. It was new to the final expense industry, but
Mhm,
but they seemed like, pardon me, they seemed like they were doing things the right way. They seemed like they had a plan in place. They seemed like everything was making sense.
mhm.
And they were um, the disaster that was GCU. I don't know that anybody foresaw. But there are other companies that are probably going to be similar levels of disaster that I think people are ignoring. And they're ignoring it because they've got a very short sighted mentality. They've got a today mentality.
Yeah.
Um, this is the danger of the final expense agent, right? Final expense agents, we get trained to think about what's happening tomorrow and nothing else.
It's
You know,
first it's a one call close mentality. Is not a business owner mentality.
no, it's not. And it's not even like an employee mentality. It's I don't know. It's a gambler's mentality. I'm not really sure, but like most of the people who sell final expense and who get into final expense are really looking at is what's going to happen tomorrow. And it's the downside of the, hey, I can go work, sell a bunch of business tomorrow and get $10,000 the following day.
Mhm,
The downside of that is, like, the business sometimes attracts people who are really just looking to get that quick payday. I know a lot of agencies, larger agencies, not small groups, who are having a very significant issue with roll up debt right now because there were people who seem to have been going around in a very systematic way from agency to agency to agency to agencies,
mhm.
writing just bad business intentionally. Um, and as far as I can tell, the carriers don't care. They're like, hey, rolls to the agency. It's on you. We're not going to pursue legal action. It doesn't really matter that it's insurance fraud or elder abuse or forgery or any of these things. The people who the bad business was written on have the ability to press charges, and the insurance carrier has the ability to press charges. The agency owner has no rights whatsoever in this situation. And it is a bad deal for
Yeah.
agency owners.
I mean,
Being an
Adam made
agency owner is kind of a crap deal. Like, I mean, you get paid reasonably well, but like the amount of rights that you do not have, Chris,
no.
is shocking.
Well, funny story. I was talking to Adam after we recorded Dynamic Friday, after we recorded a special with Post Rock Financial, and he said to me about an agent who rolled up 30 some $1,000s of debt. Hey, Eddie Sims, how's it going? Um, if I just like decided not to pay my mortgage and said I didn't live there anymore, there would be recourse against me and my credit and my existence on this planet. But I can just, people can just walk away from debt like it's nothing in this business, and it's BS. And the problem is that it never makes it to the carrier. Let's be frank. The big
Right.
name brand companies, it never makes it to them. So why would it concern them? But there needs to be some support from them, especially as we launch constant flow of new products. I don't need another new carrier that takes COPD standard. I need a carrier that protects the mid-level of the hierarchy who is eating all this stuff as it comes up.
Are you so again, like, this is because I don't have an agency that involves life insurance at all. This is not really a risk that I'm all that worried about.
Mhm.
Like the largest debt that anybody could really roll up to me is maybe maybe $3,000 or $4,000. Like,
Maybe.
and that would be like a crazy things are happening if I get even $3,000 of debt rolled up to me, right? So do you have the ability to like hire a collections agency and take these people to collections and like have them hit their like real credit report? Like
I
Vector
mean,
is not going to really affect them in the real world.
you can hire a collections agency, but you can't get blood out of a stone. There is no such thing as debtor's prison, and you
Right.
have to get a legal judgment against them in civil court to go after assets.
Well, and
Like
that's
it,
extremely expensive and
and
probably
then
not
you
worth
have to
it.
decide how much is it worth. 3, 4, 5, $7,000. It's not worth it. When you get to the Eddie Sims and Yola Oswald level and they're rolling up $20,000 and $30,000, yes, you probably have to pay the retainer and seek legal counsel and seek judgment against them. And that's the
And
challenging part
so you
because
think a lawyer is better than hiring a collection agency and like selling the debt to the collection agency
I tried
and
it.
just
Like
making it their problem?
I tried it before, and I just don't think there is a lot of teeth in that.
Yeah.
You know, I think the reality is prevention before roll up, and that's the challenge that we've talked about in countless videos before.
Yeah.
You have to have a system that you filter people out in. You have to be willing to filter the people out. Adam and I had a meet and greet this morning. We're onboarding a bunch of new agents in a very systematic approach. Step 1, did you complete the contracting? No. End
Well,
of
too bad.
conversation.
Right.
Step 2, did you successfully receive an agent number? Perfect. Have you signed up for the toolkit? Perfect. Like all of the step 2 aspects. Step 3, can you operate StreamYard, appear on camera as a presentable human being, and go through some basic training? Perfect. Step 3.5, are you going to sign up for leads? If any of these things are no, that's the end of the conversation.
Right.
But that's protecting and putting people through a systematic process so now they can go out there and produce. The next step in debt protection is having a company like Post Rock Financial that's watching every single statement, every single deposit, every single piece of activity. And when somebody writes themselves, you get an alert. When somebody builds up debt, you get an alert. Like there's all these prevention mechanisms that have to go into place. When someone doesn't answer a text message, like doesn't communicate with you, like it's active avoidance just to be able to run an effective agency because the folks above, it never hurts them.
Yikes. It's I mean, listen, I've always been I am the Lorax, I speak for the agents. But I will say, like, agencies who are your size, you're not Integrity, you're not a Amerilife, you're not like one you're not one of these big multi-billion-dollar conglomerate venture capitalist backed. Like you're essentially running a mom and pop shop,
Yeah.
right? Like a very profitable one, but like it's a mom and pop shop. Um you're a small business owner. Like I do have a lot of sympathy for you in that situation. Because yeah, it sort of sucks. Um, and again, is the reason why I choose to work with Medicare agents instead of final expense agents, or actually more specifically, I choose to work with final expense agents who want to become Medicare agents. But I'm very picky about who I work with.
Yeah. And
Um,
I think with the interesting note, not to cut you off, is that
no,
as
no,
new carriers enter the market, which is a constant stream of, oh yay, somebody else to take COPD standard. Woo.
right,
Um, to the individual producer, the guy, and I know one of the, I'm not going to say their name because they didn't do anything wrong. To them, it doesn't matter. Oh, cool, another cool company that
right,
contracts me and does this and that. To the mid-level mom and pop size IM agencies, when that company ceases to exist or stops distributing that product, you're going to start eating all this debt because there's no new business to clear it. Like I can't wait for the day the Lumenco debt rolls uphill because that carrier is no longer on the market and they
yeah,
didn't have a solid enough base to have anything like settlers where I never had any settlers roll up, never had any assurity roll up.
right.
Never had any I'm not going to speak their name because they're rescinding clients. Never had any roll up from them either, but the
Yeah.
weak based products only end up causing us harm in the end too. So what if they're only on the market 2 years? Yeah, so what? That's a problem. You know?
I mean, yeah, it really is. And it is like it is a problem for agents as well.
Tell them why.
I
Please explain to
talk
them why that's not good for them
well,
either.
so here let's talk about the company that's rescinding policies right now.
What buttheads?
If
Ah,
if you have a carrier who Plan F's one of your clients, that sucks. That does. No matter who you are or where you are or when it happens,
it's not even
that
Plan F. They're
sucks. No,
re-underwriting
I
through
know, I know,
Milliman
I know.
under a
But
new risk score. Like,
oh, I know. And they're, by the way, not the only company. There's a company based out of Massachusetts who's doing the same thing in a different way. We can talk about that later. I don't know
hmm,
if you've noticed that, but they're a huge telesales company who is doing a thing called restructuring their clients, where they send letters at month 20 saying that we've decided that for whatever reason you're not going to get preferred rates anymore, and you need to sign this to accept your new rate, or we will cancel your policy for non-payment, and then cancel those policies for non-payments, which
which,
for the
which-
agent is less bad, but is actually like way scarier and way worse for the client. But anyway, my point is, let's not get back. Let's get back. Let's say you have somebody Plan F, like, right, which I know is not what this particular company is doing, but this is the most common way somebody's going to have something rescinded, or a death claim gets denied, because death claims get denied, right?
yeah,
It's not even a Plan F. Death claim gets denied, and you get a $1,200 debt from the death claim being denied. Well, if you still have that company, you go out and write a new piece of business,
whoop-de-doo.
right? $100 a month. Maybe that's 2 policies. Maybe that's 1 policy. Maybe that's half a policy. You go out and you write a new piece of business. Debt gets cleared. Not a big deal. But if you can't write that company anymore, you got to write a check,
Yeah.
and things get weird very fast. And you can get terminated from other companies. I will tell you, if you get vectored, there are companies that will terminate you for having been vectored by another company.
Regardless of the the validity of it.
Regardless of the validity of it, if you show up on Vector, I can think of like 4 companies off the top of my head who will say, "Hey, you have like 15 days to explain why you got vectored, or we are terminating your contract." And you're going to lose those contracts. And so you're on the hook for that large debt. Also, it is now significantly easier for your policy to get replaced, because you know what's super easy to do? To walk into a home and be like, "Oh, Settlers Life? Didn't you know they went out of business?" Yeah, your insurance company's not in business anymore.
Colombian.
Try calling the 1-800 number on the front of the policy. It
Colombian.
goes nowhere. Now,
It's a little dirty, but it's very true.
but it's true,
Very
right?
true.
No, I'm not saying I would do that. I would not do that. But absolutely, there are agents out there doing that. Don't kid yourself. Especially when these companies are brand new out of business. Oh, Lumico? Yeah, didn't you hear they went out of business? Right?
In all fairness, like Colombians in receivership too. Like
Colombian in receivership.
that's a whole different problem.
Right. Like, hey, Colombian went bankrupt, guys. Like, didn't you walk into somebody's house? Oh, you've got a Colombian policy? I'm really sorry. Did they not tell you that they'd gone bankrupt? Yeah. I mean, like, that's a really easy conversation to have, and just flip somebody out of their policy. You're going to get that stuff replaced.
Yeah.
Now, again, if you don't care about the renewals, maybe, but
Maybe don't get
but you should care about your renewals. You should care about your renewals.
But the challenging part is you don't want to be a curmudgeon and like, I don't want to ever pick up another new company. No, never do that. But on the flip side, you don't know which is going to sink and which is going to swim, who's going to turn out to be a turd in disguise. It's tough. Like I was talking to Duford recently. He's like, I don't care about. I'm paraphrasing. He didn't say this specifically. Didn't care. He's not picking up combined. He's perfectly fine riding American Amicable into the sunset. Like there are business decisions we make the older we get, and the more observation we make of the industry on who we really decide to plant a big block of business with.
I don't know that agents should just jump onto every new carrier that comes out of the pen, unless there's a reason to. Maybe there is, right? Sometimes a new carrier comes out and there is something that they do that other people do not do, and it's worth taking the gamble.
Mhm.
Sometimes a new carrier comes out and they do things that other people do already, but they have a better pay structure or they have better rates, or there's a reason why it's worth taking the gamble on them. Or
Yeah.
maybe they're just very established. But like there's got to be a reason. Don't pick up new carriers just because they're a new toy. Like have a reason to be picking up the new carrier.
Okay. Got one for you. We're gonna get close to the 30-minute mark soon, but the marketing strategy that some builders
Mhm.
take out there of targeting other agents with off-brand new market products. How do you feel about that? Because I feel like it's a little messed up for someone that's trying to build a cohesive culture of agents that do their business in house to have them. And then, what do you feel about those guys who their entire recruiting strategy is, I've got this new toy, come work with, just pick up this toy with me.
So like I
Not
as
not
an
not
agent,
not trashing
as
Jig
an
either. Like it's
no,
not my
but like
point.
as an agent, I would be very nervous about working with somebody like that. Like when your marketing strategy to try and attract agents and your value proposition to try to attract agents is, I have a new toy that nobody else has. Come get this with me. I That type of behavior from the marketer makes me nervous. Because it either means one, they themselves are new and small and growing and don't have anything of real value to bring, or they are huge, right? Like this is also the type of thing that you get, like the giant impersonal, like I don't want to name names because I don't want to get us in trouble, but like the very, 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 very large IMOs will call you up and be like, hey, we just picked up
Combined.
combined. Yeah.
You want
Hey,
a
we just picked up combined.
192%
They've got
contract?
really competitive rates in your state. And why don't you try picking them up over the phone with us right now and we'll get you taken care of? And it's like, right, right. And you're getting telemarketed to that way from somebody.
Mhm.
And like the crazy huge IMOs do this also. Happens in Medicare too, like MedSups.
Yeah.
That's the call that I get the most frequently is from MedSup recruiters from the gigantic mega IMOs.
Yeah.
Um, but you're either getting recruited into something that is huge and impersonal, where you're probably not getting a particularly good deal. If you're capable enough to not need the help, you can probably get a better deal elsewhere. Or if you're going to be working for some place that is small and an upstart place, uh, they probably don't know what they're doing. Like it just gives me real bad vibes about
Yeah.
like I would as an agent find that to be a very huge red flag of a way to try and recruit me.
Because here's what ends up happening to the person. And there's a difference between recruiting somebody through a broker relationship and moving them into a core agent partner. That's one thing. Just to throw out contracts with new toys on the market. What ends up happening, and I've done it, I've learned the experience, is let's say I get Nick to pick up um I
Combined.
don't know, West Virginia Life. Make
Oh
it up a name. Nick picks up West Virginia Life with me, but he does most of his business with another carrier, another IMO. And Nick picks up West Virginia Life, and as most agents, he writes it here and there, and he builds up $1,500 of debt. Then that means the next application isn't going to pay his rent. Guess what happens? Nick will stop writing West Virginia Life to be able to pay his rent, and he'll go back to writing business under his other IMO because he doesn't have any debt with them. And guess what happens? Nick forgets to log into West Virginia Life. He stops writing it. He stops coming back to it. And in 6 months, that debt's mine because he just stopped selling it. It
Right.
wasn't a relationship. It wasn't an in-house agent. There was no broader spectrum to what we were doing business together. Am I completely off base with how I'm describing the situation?
Nope, not even a little bit.
Reality
Like
of it.
that.
I had an agent with probably a great reputation. He's sitting on, it's not even that big of a deal. Like, I honestly don't care, but it's another example. He has $600 of Polish Falcons debt with us. When the Falcons stopped advancing, he probably stopped selling it. Hence
Right,
their
sure.
reason. And now it's rolled up because he only does one carrier with us and stop selling it. You can be nickel and dimed almost out of the business with situations like this if that's your primary method of growing distribution.
Well, and I will tell you, like personally, again, I don't do life insurance agencies, but if I were to do a life insurance agency, I don't know that I would want to willingly contract anybody who's only going to put one contract with us. I wouldn't hold people captive. If there's somebody I don't have that you can get elsewhere, go get them elsewhere. That's fine. But I would not. I mean, that's what I do with my Medicare agents. Like, it doesn't really make sense for me to pick up a contract unless I've got at least 5 agents who are going to be writing it. It ends up costing me more money than it makes. But so if I don't have enough agents who want to write a particular niche carrier, I'm not going to pick them up. Go pick them up. I'll help you find who to pick them up through. That's fine. But I want all my agents to have, if you're going to be working with me and you're going to have me training you and you're going to have me helping you and calling carriers on your behalf when things go wrong and doing all of the things that I'll do for you, answering the phone when you're in a house, like, I want you to have most of what you're going to be writing with me.
You mean you're not a charity?
I feel like that's a reasonable ask.
It is.
I don't feel like that's a crazy ask. I would never, if I was building a life insurance brokerage, I would never say, "Hey, come on, just pick up Combined. I've got Combined. We're just get the one carrier with us." I would never do that. It seems risky to me.
It is.
And I am
purely
nothing if not risk averse.
Yeah. And then I got one last one for you, and I don't mean this in any kind of a derogatory sense, and I don't know how specific I'll get with it, but there's a new individual on the market building an independent agency after being under Lincoln for a while. And the kind of people that are going to be attracted to the newest shiny object on the market are very risky agents to work with.
Yeah.
Like, and I have a very specific example where somebody in my hierarchy wants to go work with her now, who is on Vector, who couldn't afford leads, and who I really don't think that, like, that's not going to fix your problem. Going to work with Dana isn't going to fix the issue here. Going to figure out how to fix this grass that is not green is the situation. And I'm worried for people like Dana who are going to be hot commodities for, reclamation projects, not, building blocks.
Yeah.
That's a scary spot to be in.
Yeah, it's not a spot that you want to be in. It's tricky. It's tricky for people like Dana. It's tricky for you. Like, I mean, it sounds to me like you would be thrilled to get rid of this agent, but it is probably not in that agent's best interest either. And that is tough.
Yeah, like your grass does, like the neighbor's grass looks a lot greener when you're not watering your own grass. It's one of the most simple truths of like business ownership and life. That's just the reality of it. And I'm concerned for the agent because I want them to be able to water their grass and fix their situation. I'm concerned for people like Dana who are going to attract reclamation projects and not cornerstones. And that's a really tough spot to be in when you come from a single carrier background where there aren't, side deals and releases and pick up this with me and that with you. And they don't know that they're writing business with them and you. It's a whole different melting pot of shit.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah, it is.
Like how many?
It's hard out there for a mom and pop shop.
Yeah. How many people have you seen exit the captive space and have really taken off in the independent space?
Yeah, absolutely.
How many?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
It's hard. Like, it's very different.
It's a really different playing field. It is. Yeah, it's.
There's so much.
There's a lot of stuff that happens in the broker space that captive agents are not even aware of. And again, this goes back to not even like as an agency owner, but just as like an agent. There's a lot of stuff that happens in the broker space that captive agents aren't aware of. And there is an element of needing to learn how this segment of the industry works because it functions differently than the captive space does. And it's tricky. And legitimately, the transition is not easy.
And like just the transition from running a free lead model to a paid lead model, perfectly fine. But on paper, it makes sense. But what happens when that agent can't afford or won't purchase their leads from one week to the next? That's a whole different life cycle of struggle that you don't even have exposure to on a free lead model.
Right. Yeah.
They didn't perform. They don't get free leads. No big deal. But this is different. They are on hike. They're on normal comp. They're supposed to be getting leads and they don't. Like, we all know this. We've all lived this. We've all experienced this. But Oh man, it's so different.
All right. So we do not have time, so we will not talk about this time. But I would
But
like
give
people
it
to
to me.
post in the comments of if they would like to hear us talk about this, because you just mentioned something that I would very much like to talk about, and we're at 34 minutes and we both have other things that we have to do. So if you would like us to talk about why are so many independent agencies cutting comp, and why are so many independent agencies suddenly transitioning to a free lead model, um, post something in the comments below. It'll, because legitimately, it's the only way that we're going to remember. We won't remember to do it otherwise. But if you post something in the comments, if multiple people post in the comments, we will remember, because it'll be in the comments and we'll have gotten emails about it.
There we go.
So post in the comments, let us know. I think that would be a really interesting conversation, because I have thoughts. I'm pretty sure you do too. And I think that would be a great thing to talk about next time.
Well said. Comment below and we'll talk about it next time. Or we'll forget if you don't.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
See ya.